cannabis. So, what's the cannabis map? It's clear that the Beltway is not in tune with the majority of the population or the states. And as you can see, most of the states, I don't know. How many are medical marijuana now?
30 some. I looked it up. It's in the manual. 30
okay.
or
and
so.
And that's a lot more population than just 30. So it's not 30% of the population. Recreational marijuana. And so we're putting, is also coming. And my drug of choice is alcohol. It always has been. I've never even tried cannabis. Okay. As a preparer, the odds are now that you do have somebody associated with the cannabis industry. And what are the tax ramifications and the reporting ramifications? Because DC is not following and will not follow until they change the law, we're going to find that, of course, illegal income is taxable, but you don't get a deduction. The Supreme Court straightened up that, wait a minute, that only applies to the overhead and not cost of goods sold. It's not the right way to teach it, but that's the way that I teach it. We're going to lose. We're going to be able to deduct cost of goods sold, but we're not going to be able to deduct in the cannabis industry the overhead expenses. And so what does that cost of goods sold include? Depends on if you're a producer or if you're a seller. And if you're a producer, you still get to deduct the cost, direct materials, labor, etc., to grow it. That's the producer. Now, the cost of goods sold depends on the inventory method. Now, I'm going to tease you here in just a second. And the inventory method is exactly, if I bought it, I didn't produce it, but I bought it to sell it, purchase price less than the trade or discounts plus the transportation, and etc. on those included. Now, I changed the headline here to, that's not a typo error, because this is unique to California.
What is unique to California?
CA, I capitalized the A in cannabis.
Oh.
That's just to tease you.
Yeah. Yeah, more in Michigan, more in Colorado.
Oh, wait a minute.
More in Montana.
I went to law school in Colorado. And
you were all high, I know.
No.
Isn't that what they call it, Colorado?
There was a different drug at that point.
Rocky Mountain High, that's it. The Plowman case, it's an S corporation, it's brand new, and it is a medical marijuana S corporation. Now, we can only deduct cost of goods sold, but what this is the reasonable wage has to be paid by the S corporation, right? So this is a marijuana seller. They pay reasonable wages to their owners. The reasonable wage comes out on a W-2 and is taxed on their individual tax return. They reduce the profit in the S corporation by the wages paid. IRS came in and said you may not claim wages for this retail seller. You can't have any wages. You can only have cost of goods sold. So they disallow the wage deduction on the S corporation. The shareholder says, wait a minute, you taxed me on it. You're double taxing me. And the judge said, you shouldn't have picked an S corporation. Oh, I mean, never would I have thought that they would make me take reasonable wage from the S corporation and then disallow the wage expense. So I believe it means that if you were advising that they might consider a C corporation because it's 21% on their taxable income, even though it was paid out, even though it's a non-deductible expense, or at least an LLC, depending on the state law and the structuring. The rest of those are just taxpayers arguing they indeed are California. They are just taxpayers arguing that they can deduct, for instance, their rent, their utilities, their payroll. No, they can't. And that's what a bunch of these are, just saying that it's only cost of goods sold.
So where are your clients that are involved in the cannabis industry going to run into trouble? This one is no bank will take the money. So how do you pay your payroll taxes? I have an idea. Just take the cash and walk it into the IRS agent and say you want to pay the payroll tax, in cash, and just dump the cash out. That doesn't work. Just want to let you know. So we do have a problem. And the IRS knows it, and we've linked to the problem. I don't know how to solve it. Some are using state credit unions to be able to do it. But I do know that the fine for not timely depositing payroll tax is the most enormous that you can face. So it is going to be an issue that you have to face. The question is dealing with, can that number, a potency number, be large enough that it's small enough that it's not considered to be an illegal drug? Cutting to the chase. If you're from California, you can guess what the answer is. I'm amusing myself.
Well, I know. I have a few things to say. By the way, he doesn't drink at all and hasn't had any alcohol for 35 years, including Cherry's Jubilee. He did just find out that creme brulee had alcohol, so now he doesn't have that either. So, although he talks a lot about being an expert. But
help me out here.
I don't know the answer to the difference between ABC and CBC or whatever. I don't know, but I'll bet it's posted on the Attorney General, Jeff Sessions' website. If your clients tell you that it is not a Class 1 drug when it falls below the cannabis percentage, and they're willing to put that in writing to you, because I don't expect that I am required to be a chemistry major in order to do the tax return. But I would bet that this is someplace, because the difference is between federal and state law, right? For state law, they can sell without the licensing if the cannabis percentage drops. But I bet that is not quite the same rule with the federal government on what they do on marijuana. I don't know. That's it.
I mean, clearly we're on the cutting edge of an industry. And clearly this industry is going to change. And clearly when Congress moves it, and it's going to have to be Congress, from a Class 1 to a Class 2 or Class 3, then all of a sudden we don't have that, and that will happen. And so I don't turn down these type of clients. I don't specialize in the program, but there are CPAs that I know that do. And
you may just want to know somebody to refer. Has anybody taken a cannabis client yet? Anybody taken one?
Yeah.
I mean, and you're about to take one? I mean, you could be a specialist in something. Everybody needs to report their income. My client who had a whole series of cannabis growers before it was legal in my state, said everybody reports their income. I just helped them report their income and told them not to deduct any expenses. So, I'm not against this, but at some point we were referred in my town the Pink Poodle Bar, and I'll bet you could guess what that was. That was not a place that served alcohol. And so we did have a discussion on if we wanted the firm to handle a stripper bar with a business in the back. And we decided not to take it. So I imagine that some of you have had that discussion, and you might want to know somebody else. I'm pointing out Canada. That's the first country to recreational marijuana, and that was yesterday or the day before.
And I so agree with Sharon on this one and agree with you. Do not turn this client down, because it does have a future. There's a medical reason for it, and I just don't think that when it comes to tax law, we don't judge morals in our office. We judge, is it filed correctly or not? And that's the only thing that we did, and this is going to be a normal thing for businesses to have. And so I agree with you, Sharon, on that one.
You call and get an appointment with the IRS or with the state revenuers to take the money in, and they bring in an armored car to take the money. That's what they're doing right now for...
Are they doing that in California?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We don't have that.
But we are part of the United States, so... It's still the IRS.
Just understand, we bring it in by horseback.